We fed all of our data into open source statistical computing software and learned some interesting facts. First and most importantly, but maybe not surprisingly, sticks are not contagious. In fact, any number of prior sticks don't meaningfully predict the likelihood of another stick.
In order of scores, we have NCAA qualifiers. They are the highest score: Oklahoma, Florida, LSU, Georgia, UCLA, Minnesota, and Arkansas and Stanford have all qualified for the NCAA championships and will be in Fort Worth in 2 weeks. And consequences, like a real sport, we will tell you which coaches are parting ways with their jobs. Today is April 6th, 2026, and welcome to the #1 Gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation, who live blogged every single meet this weekend.
I'm so tired. Why do I make such bad decisions?
Why? How are you even upright right now is my question. I don't know how you're doing it.
I think there's one thing we learned. I make bad decisions.
NCAA live show tickets are on sale now. All of the VIP tickets are sold out. This show usually sells out, so get your tickets now. You also can get a streaming ticket. So you can get you don't have to be there in person. You can chat with everybody in the chat, ask questions in the chat. Can you tell the people who some of our past special guests have been? Because once again, we will have a special guest.
Okay, we've had Jordan Weber.
Yeah.
We've had Morgan Hurd. We've had, most recently, Cecile Landy and Levi Junger-Weaver. Alicia Sacramone, Kathy Johnson-Clark when I wasn't there, Kennedy Baker, Helen Hu, Amy Borman, Mohini Bardwaj, Vanessa Atler, Becky Downey, and Danusha Francis. Am I missing?
Danelle Leyva surprised us.
Surprise! An unscheduled Leyva.
guest,
yeah.
Which is it was awesome. So, yeah, tickets on sale now at GymCastic.com. You can get an in-person ticket or a streaming ticket, and we hope to see you there. And get them now because the show sells out. It is April 17th, the evening, the day off, when there's nothing else to do. So come to the GymCastic live show.
It's like they designed the schedule specifically for us,
exactly.
Unlike some other competitions that don't.
Breaking news.
Okay, what's going on?
Graba is out at Auburn.
Whoa.
So Auburn Athletics and Gymnastics head coach Jeff Graba have mutually agreed to part ways after 16 seasons, athletic director John Cohen announced on Monday. So this is, again, the Graba that got the one and only Olympic all-around champion to ever compete in college gymnastics to compete for Auburn. And now
that was a family affair. Jess Graba, SUNY's elite coach.
And, she said, this is my family. I mean, I don't know that she ever had a choice in where she was going to go to college. But she did compete there for 2 years.
SUNY always has SUNY can do whatever
SUNY can, but, would she have ever considered anywhere else? I don't know. But she didn't stay. But, that was 2 years ago that she left. So now he's out. Auburn did not make it to NCAAs. Who do you think?
This is the cutthroat world of college gymnastics, in the SEC especially. You don't make it. You didn't advance past your semifinal and get top 16. Yeah. Like a real sport or something.
Who do you think's next? Turns out it was Heather Brink at Nebraska. Right after we finished recording.
Who do I think's next in terms of Auburn head coach?
No, getting the axe. Yeah, I'm
Ooh.
Surprised that's the only axe that's fallen today. I thought for sure there would be at
Regionals
least one
ended
more.
15 seconds ago.
Yeah, that's how it works. Before you even get on the plane home in the big sports, they are firing you.
Oof.
/ not renewing your contract.
Yeah, mutually agreed to part ways.
Yeah. I kind
of
of
these
think
conversations are always very mutual.
Yeah. I don't know if Kentucky cares enough. But Kentucky, I would put on my list. Utah, I think. This is the first time Utah has not qualified in 50 years.
Big deal.
And they already had their shirts pre-made and everything. Now they're going to end up, Utah, because they have good marketing. They had already prepared their 50-year anniversary shirts and the athletes.
That's a good collector's item now.
I know. So, yeah, I would say Utah and Kentucky are probably,
Oof.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Cal not qualifying anybody from being.
It's 1 year. They've been there for 1 second and everyone graduated. I feel like I don't like unless there's a problem, like a non-competition problem, I don't like the 1 year out turnaround. Like, you have to give them some time.
Yeah, you have to
build a team.
You also have to be able to recruit. And I think normally you don't get a contract that's under 3 or 4 years. So, other headlines that happened. So we had some equipment setting problems at regionals. So, I was able to confirm that the floor out of bounds was wrong and had to be fixed at the Corvallis regional. So that is the meet referee is supposed to check the out of bounds. That is part of their responsibilities. And the regional meet referees have to have 12 years of experience of collegiate judging. So always check everything. If we learned anything from watching Tom Farden and Armane for all those years, double check everything with a level, with, there's two things can be true at once. There can be good things you learn from coaches, and there can be
Jessica
things
was anticipating my facial expression there when she was like, let's all learn.
You can learn things from even people whose other examples you don't follow. Okay, so regional team qualifiers again, the top 8.
Some of the top 8 didn't make it.
Right, so what's really interesting to me is the top 8 teams by NQS all qualified except Alabama and Missouri.
Yeah, which is a pretty good return if you're looking for upsets, because sometimes it's all 8.
Right.
And we're like, why did we even do this?
Yeah.
I was worried about that because regionals started a little slowly in terms of what I'm most interested in, which is surprising things happen. Because it's kind of like, all right, we've watched this all season. Like, we know who's good. I want unexpected things to happen, and there weren't a lot of upsets early on. And then they really got moving. They just had to get it. They just had to get the wheels loosened, and then things got interesting, things got exciting, things got good. So, as Jessica mentioned, at the top are 8 teams that are still in competition, advancing to nationals: LSU, Stanford, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, UCLA, Minnesota. So the big developments there were Minnesota qualifying over Alabama and Utah. So Minnesota and UCLA advanced from that Oregon State Regional, where we were also focused on who was it going to be between UCLA, Utah, and Alabama. And Minnesota was like, hello, excuse me, it's me. And Alabama and Utah are both out. Missouri also lost to Arkansas. It's a numerical upset because Missouri was 8th and Arkansas was 9th. I think the general assessment going in was that these two teams are so even that it's just going to be like a couple landings on the day, which is kind of how it ended up. So it's a numerical upset. I don't think it's a huge shock. Like, I felt very 50-50 about Missouri and Arkansas going into that one. Stanford had a scare. Stanford almost didn't make it, but did get in. And then Arkansas and Minnesota were the not outside the top 8 teams to advance. Other thoughts?
Yeah, it was just, I think it was.
We'll do more detail. Because I have a lot to say, especially about the Minnesota performance. So I thought it was fascinating. A fascinating meet to dissect strategically. In terms of who did what, but I'll want to talk more about that.
I think what's interesting to me about how this all played out is that I wonder, we remember last year there was a coach who was threatening to sue over the judging, that it wasn't fair. And our argument, we talked about that going into NCAA championships. We were like, if you drink the Kool-Aid, if you believe the scores you're getting at home, you will be very disappointed when you get to NCAA championships, because we saw here, even at regionals, the scoring was different. It was tighter most of the time. Slightly
it was tighter in terms of everyone got the same score, even if they had major mistakes or not, is how I felt about it. But
yeah. So, I think that it will be interesting to see if the fate of Utah creates more momentum behind the idea of actually holding the judges to account, and there being some oversight beyond the scoreboard, which is an oversight data collecting entity that gives feedback to the judges, but the judges can opt out of it, and you're not required to be in it, as far as we know. Do you think that there will be more movement to change the way the regionals are set up?
So you think there are going to be major changes based on Utah not qualifying?
I didn't say there will be changes. I said there'll
be more passion for those 4 changes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I feel there will be passion, and no, I don't think Utah did not earn their way. You have to be a top 2 team should not be hard. If you're going to make the NCAAs, you should be able to be a top 2 team. They were not a top 2 team. I do think there will be a lot of flapping and gesticulating about what changes need to happen after this. But, it's also exciting.
But are you advocating for your score should qualify you?
No, because
rather than your result in the meet?
I'm advocating for the judging being accurate, no matter where and when. That is what I am advocating for. Yeah. So, yeah. And there be real oversight. So that's what I would like to see. We have so we're going to get deep into all the regionals and everything that happened. But before we do that, some more headlines. In the gymnasts are the canaries in the coal mine news, at Iowa State, remember Iowa State shut down their gymnastics program after decades and then blamed the gymnasts for it. And now the Iowa State women's basketball team, 10 basketball players are in the transfer portal. 10, including their best player. That is a massive number of athletes. That is, everyone's getting the hell out of there. So I think that once again, like we said when this first happened with Iowa State, the gymnasts they've been through it with accountability, and they understand holding power to account. And so they will often be the canaries in the coal mine for when something's wrong and the first to speak up and not stand for it. Again, we see that played out here with basketball. In other accountability, transparency, what's that? We are not accountable to anyone.
Never heard of her.
The Romanian press is reporting that the federation head is basically missing in action when he was supposed to be investigating the abuse allegations, which they retaliated against the entire senior national team and coaches by dismantling them and stopping them from being able to train or live in their training places. So that saga continues in Romania. Before we get deep into regionals, so deep.
Deep dive. We do have some updates. So if you are not a member of Club Gymnerd, you might want to become one before NCAAs, because while college and cocktail season might be over, we are going to do 2 immediate reaction shows at NCAA championships, semifinals day, finals day. They will be bookending our live show at NCAAs, and weekly Q&As are just one of the many perks you get from being a member of Club Gymnerd.
And we also have extended interviews, discounts, commission on your own segments. We have a podcast tour. We do 4 live shows a year. We have a season pass where you can get 4 in-person tickets for the price of 3. We also have virtual streaming tickets for those shows as well. And those that season pass is available for club members. And Club Gymnerd also makes a great gift. Also, we have merch. We have so many good things just in time for postseason. If you need a shirt or a banner that says, "Dear Judges, use all the numbers," we have that. And you can get it as a banner and just hold it up at NCAAs. You can get a Team Bronze shirt or banner because we're having a rematch. Because we have Stanford and UCLA both qualified to NCAA championships. So another opportunity to show your support for Team Bronze with Jordan Childs and Anna Barbosu. Also, we have games. We have a daily gym duel, weekly crosswords, word searches, and news searches. And you can find everything, including our fantasy games, at GymCastic.com. Regionals.
Let's start with our biggest surprise from regionals. Not a close competition in terms of biggest surprise, because it's Minnesota qualifying, which we basically didn't even entertain as a possibility when talking about it. I mean, we know Minnesota's a really, really good team, but it felt like, oh, they got the worst possible draw. This is a really good team that got a terrible draw, and they're never going to be able to upset 2 of the, storied teams in college gymnastics. Turns out they were like, we can, because we're going to show up to this regional and be the only team that's not competing like someone's holding our family members at gunpoint. Because that was basically this regional final with Minnesota, UCLA, Utah, and Alabama. The UCLA, Utah, and Alabama were so tight and making mistakes, and they all ended up dropping 2 falls because you can drop a score, so it didn't really necessarily show up too much in the scores, but I think was significant. Minnesota dropped no falls, hit the competition, and I think that we saw that through the scores and the overall competition, that they were the one that was actually competing at the level they would have intended to compete at regionals.
Yep. It was incredible to watch this because there were so many unexpected falls, like from Alabama, from LaCourcier putting her hands down on her bars dismount.
I know.
Which is, I forget to even watch her land because it's always so perfect. And then they also had a fall on vault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like trying too hard, trying to be too perfect. And they're such a good team. But yeah, they were too tight, is what happened. And Minnesota just continued to be excellent over and over and over. And Gymcastic bump, Emma Slevin.
Yeah.
Emma Slevin competed for her first time on beam in college. And
she's exhibition, but hadn't been in the lineup before. Yeah.
Right, but actually competed. When it counted, everything's on the line. They were like, you know who we're going to ask? The Irish gymnast elite who's been competed at everything and ended up clinching that.
Yeah, I don't think they knew it at the time, but that was the score. Like, once she hit and her beam score came in, that secured that Minnesota was going to advance. So that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It is interesting always watching the scores and seeing what it is and then trying to track when the team is actually like, okay, but it's real, right? Because there's always that like milling about in the corral where they're like, did we? Do they have another routine? Is there another score that's going to come up? Can we celebrate? Are we good? Am I going to be really disappointed in a second? But yeah, that was enough. And that was very impressive. And all the other teams were so worried about losing to each other that Minnesota was like, okay, you have fun with each other.
We're going to sneak right in here. And they earned it. They did a really great job. Yeah. Alabama on vault. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because that's where I think Alabama lost it. They had a fall and then a couple other 9.7s. And I think what we saw was one of the challenges of having a really deep team that Alabama experienced on vault, which is they have more solid 10-0 start values on vault than they need in this lineup. And I don't think they were 100% confident who their best 6 vaults were. They had Chloe LaCourcier and Kylie Kwame go in the semifinal. Then when the finals lineups came out, Jasmine Colley was in on vault and Mackenzie Matters was originally in on vault instead of Kylie Kwame. And then Jamison Sears fell. And then they switched out Matters and put in Kwame, and she ended up having the best vault for them of their lineup. So it is one of those real challenges where, and if you're Alabama and you're doing your post-season, like your post-mortem, like what do we learn from this? I think figuring out a way to know who the ones who are going to perform in the moment are, and not being unsure about like who is the vaulter who we can trust to hit at nationals when it comes down to it. Because it really felt like it just came down to who pushed the right buttons. And you compare that to Minnesota, where Emma Slevin has not competed before, actually, on beam. Brooklyn Roray was in on floor, who has not competed floor this year, competed it once last year in the first meet and fell. And when Minnesota's lineups came up, because I'm a dork and I was like had Verdius up before the lineups were up. And then so I watched them come in and I'm like, ooh, the lineups are in. And then Minnesota's lineup started popping up and I was like, oh, they made a mistake. Verdius has made a data entry mistake. These aren't Minnesota's lineups. They're not going to put in these people in this moment. But they did, and it worked out really well. And that goes to these little margins of knowing what the right button to push on your team is at that moment really defined the result here. Even with the rotation order, like Minnesota picked the same rotation order for the semifinals because they were like, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen in the finals. We're going to be prepared for it. It ended up being Utah, I think, got hit by their rotation order pick. And it's now why I'm really into this as the coaches getting to pick their rotation order, because I think ending on vault hurt them. Because we got some, like, the scores are elevated at the end of this meet on in a lot of meets. And I felt like everyone was like getting a little amped and getting a little scores. But on vault, if you're hopping around, there's only so high they can go.
Yep.
And I think that hurt Utah.
Yep. I felt like that with Missouri too, because they had great vaults, but then, I mean, they have like height and distance, and the same with MSU, but then everybody had a big hop. Yeah. Which is the better mistake. Like, you want to over-rotate. Like, that is a better thing to do. You want to have too much power and too much distance when you're going into it. I mean, you don't want to fully crash into the stanchions and then take out a cop. But never forget.
I mean, we'll encourage it.
Yes.
But yeah, that is the thing. Because even if you're doing a good vault, maybe a slight on the table deduction or in air deduction, and then stepping forward, you're going to get 9.8, 9.85. But if every good routine is a 9.9 and you're on beam and you're like, I'm dismounting with a gainer pike, which I've been doing for a million years and I can stick every time, I'm not going to incur that 1/10 landing deduction and other stuff. So my scores are going to be, the scoring potential is going to be higher because it's a little less about the landing.
Yep.
Because everything is about the landings, I feel like. That hurt Missouri. That hurt Utah. Yeah.
I love the end of this meet where Minnesota already knew. Jordan Childs was going on floor. And, you know, we know she's going to get a 9.95 or a 10 because she's like never fallen on floor ever or had any major problem on floor in
Sometimes she
college.
lands short. And then they're like,
yeah.
And then they're like, no, you didn't. 9.95.
Like, no, still a 9.95.
That, I was like, oh, Joss Robertson's gonna like lose her mind about still getting a 9.95 on beam when she had to use her backup routine because she had a check and then she had put in a switch split and she still got the 9.95 she gets every single time. And she's like, oh my God, I changed my routine specifically. Like, I vicariously was frustrated on her behalf.
Yeah, I loved her interview where she was like, yeah, I just had to add this and, you know, I do this all the time. And so I just did my routine backwards. But yeah, it's crazy all the changes she's made and still like
it's the same. She's like, why would I make any changes? It's the same score regardless.
Right.
You say I need to take out my split, I take out my split, and then I do my split and I get a 9.95 again.
That doesn't matter. So at the end of this meet where you have UCLA is finishing floor, Minnesota finished beam, and they already know that they made it. They're already like you know, conservatively celebrating, trying to hold it in.
But keep it classy.
Right, exactly. And then, you know, Jordan makes sure she has the stage. So she stays on the floor to get her 10, and then ran over to the Minnesota team. I loved how all of the teams were celebrating together that qualified, and this started with the very first teams that made it on Saturday. I love that like group party atmosphere that then continued to every single regional until the very final regional. So yeah, and I love they gave them a big ticket, and they took they got to stand there, put their name on the bracket. You know, I love a bracket.
I love a bracket, visual, but we got to work on the sticker putting on.
I mean,
there's a
it's
huge
because
difference in
they try to put the sticker on with all the seniors. Of course, it's going to be a wreck.
I know there's so many. It's so skewed, and they're Minnesota's semifinal sticker. It was like in a ball. I was like, what is it? That's how you knew they were going to advance because they weren't so tense about how to put it on the line.
The team needs
the only teams that did it well were Utah and Michigan, and they were both eliminated.
The team needs to have a secret vote after the meet about who's putting the sticker on, because 4 or 7 people at once doesn't work.
One person.
Only one person.
You can't coordinate this many people, and it's going to be...
No.
They can't do it. But this is your thing with you can't win with a new head coach. My thing is now going to be, if you put the sticker on too precisely, you're going to be eliminated because you're too up in your own head. You're too nervous. You're going to be too tight. You're too tight, and you're going to compete poorly if you're worried about how you're putting that sticker on. The teams that just crumple it up do the best.
Okay, biggest lessons learned. Besides, only one person could put the sticker on.
Only one person could put the sticker on. Also, I think there are going to be a lot of important conversations between coaches and teams about your celebrations and your stick celebrations and your excitement screams out of landings, because I saw multiple occasions of gymnasts stepping and then excitement screaming themselves into a larger deduction. Like in critical moments where I was like, you did not hold your finish position and you did not have to hop again, but you hopped again because you were screaming so hard you moved.
Yeah. And it's the people, like, if you're gonna cry before you even land, that's okay. Like, cry. You are required
Crying's not a deduction,
to hold it. Yes.
The motto of this podcast, there's no deduction for crying.
No deduction for crying. Get it all out, but you have to stand still. I am worried. What I appreciated is the teams that have actually pre-talked about this and have been practicing it all year. There was so much holding your finishing position for a full 3 seconds, especially on floor. I was like, finally, all the years, I feel like it's a stage. Use the stage. Hold the position. Don't move. Like, let the people clap for you. This is your time. And then, but I am worried that a coach is going to be injured. The coaches should not be allowed to step on the mats until the gymnast has exited, because one of these gymnasts is going to do, like, we had what's that game? Fortnite. We had the Fortnite celebration from Iowa.
Schriever?
Schriever, yeah.
Schriever.
She did she did the backflip to the sideways with your hand on your head pose, and I was like, oh my god, some coach is gonna walk into that and get killed.
There's a lot of there. I mean, both ways, because like when Aurélie Tran got her 10, Kyle Grable was so excited that I thought he was going to punch her in the face. Like when she stuck, even before the 10 came up, when she stuck, he was jumping and punching the air so hard that from the camera perspective, I was like, oh, I think he might punch her in the face. I'm genuinely worried there's going to be a punching incident. Okay, a couple things now, because first of all, this myth that it's 3 seconds. This is a classic.
That's not required.
It's 1 second. But
it's 1
Iowa
second.
Iowa made that video where it was like, what rule would you change? And a lot of them were like, I would get rid of having to hold your finishing position for 3 seconds. And I was like, you are being lied to. I know exactly why you are being lied to, because coaches say it's 3 seconds to make sure you're holding it for 1 second. But this is why it's a benefit to read the rules for yourself and not just trust what your coach says, because they will lie to you to get you to do what they want to do. It's not 3 seconds.
Yep. You should, on floor, you should always hold your ending pose for 3 seconds, because that is the minimum in the theater for your applause. That's art.
For everyone to be like, oh, I just arted. Yeah.
Yes. And get your applause. And and make sure you don't get a deduction for just getting up and leaving. Like, there's a person that I can't remember whose routine was, she never stopped moving. And I was like, you gotta stop.
You gotta hold your ending position. Yeah.
But I appreciate that they're telling them 3 seconds, because then they hold it for 30 and still get the deduction.
Yeah. I will say though, I am team Ashley Cowan on this, because in the semifinals there was an incident. Ashley Cowan stuck her bars dismount. Then she did her like shoot an arrow celebration. And then she went over to Jay, who was like, salute. And then she saluted. It felt really bad. She held her finish position. She held the finish position.
She held it.
She did everything that was required of you in NCAA gymnastics. You do not have to salute the judges when you are done. As long as you hold that finish position. No deduction. I'm team Ashley Cowan. She did it fine. That was fine.
Saluting is not a requirement.
You have to hold the finish position and not scream yourself into a fake salute. But after you hold that finish position, you can do whatever you want. As KJ said when she was explaining the rules, they can cheer, they can run away, they can run to the bathroom. Those are the 3 things you can do after you hold your finish position for 1 second. Cheer, run away, go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong. But I think that is one of those things that some of the coaches still believe those things because they've never actually gone and read through the rules. Also, okay, the biggest almost surprise.
Biggest almost surprise was definitely Clemson almost qualifying to nationals. That was so close to happening, which would have been remarkably surprising, unpredictable. Yeah. They nearly beat Stanford for the second spot getting out of that regional. Ultimately, Stanford had a lot of struggles, but got through it on, I think we both agreed that, like, yeah, on overall execution quality, despite struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Clemson, like we were talking about this on College and Cocktails, where we had Riva Zachariah on.
Or Rima.
I said Rima, right?
Oh, I thought you said it sounded like Riva.
Oh, no, Rima. So we had her on College and Cocktails, and we had a lot of fun, you guys. Very fun. You should listen to it. There's a little teaser out so you can get an idea if you haven't listened to the whole thing. But I feel like Clemson exceeded. They did their absolute best they could do. Like, that was they are, what is it? You know, they reached the pinnacle that they are capable of reaching, which is huge. Stanford they didn't even compete near their potential.
No.
As a team. They had a bunch of mistakes, a bunch of things. There were some weird things that happened, like Levi had some problems, Anna Roberts fell. The same with UCLA had some problems, like Mika had two very uncharacteristic problems.
Wasn't in beam.
And they took her out of beam. And it was also like, oh, I wonder if something going on behind the scenes, you know, that's maybe like, you know, she's not in the right headspace. So you never know what's going on. But yeah, Clemson almost beat Stanford. Stanford wasn't even close to doing as well as they can, because if they do as well as they can, they could be right there with Oklahoma. So, yeah.
It's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very,
but
very
I mean,
exciting.
a successful season for Clemson. They're one of the teams I think that will come out of that feeling of the teams that didn't qualify. They're one of the few that are going to be like, but that was a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was still a win, even when not qualifying. I don't think there are that many teams who will feel that way, but Clemson is one of them, because they're coming from, you know, the 2 seasons they've existed before this, and they were in the regional play-ins, and now this season, new head coaches, they almost made nationals. So,
and I feel like this is where the Crandall Howells and KJ have proven as the best coaches in the NCAA. Wherever KJ goes, the team gets remarkably better, and the same with Clemson.
And then when she leaves, they get rid of the program.
They cut it completely. And then you find out that's why she left. So, okay. Was it a surprise?
Yeah, this is where I wanted to talk about Arkansas and Missouri, because I think it really came down to stuck landings, essentially, almost entirely. Missouri did not control that many landings overall on vault, as you mentioned, but also bars, beam. There were maybe, like, across the 3 events, there were maybe like 2 or 3 landings without deduction, because even when they stuck, it was like the lean to control the stick, which a lot of people did at regionals. So yeah, it was not surprising that it came down to like a couple sticks here and there. And Arkansas advanced. Did you have other thoughts on that result?
I enjoy, Arkansas are underrated on vault. I think they have that really great vault potential, and Missouri also has great vaulters. But it is the thing, like I was talking about earlier, like Missouri just flies on vault, but they're not controlling their landings. And also, you know, Arkansas has their guaranteed 9.9s, 9.95s with Joss. And they have Morgan Price on the team, which is...
I thought when she fell on vault, I was like, I know they already have 5 hits, but I kind of thought they had given it away at that point, because I was like, she could up the, you know, you don't have to count a 9.8 when Morgan Price is hitting. She can get you that 9.95. So I thought they definitely did not have their ideal meet. They left tenths on the table, just I think not as many.
Yep. Most exciting semifinal.
Ooh, well, we have to give this one to Ohio State.
Yeah. And
that
with
whole
Rutgers.
Semifinal that Kentucky was in at home, Kentucky became the only top 16 seed not to advance to the regional final when they were upset by Ohio State and Rutgers, who almost advanced out of that. Kentucky ended up finishing 4th of the 4 teams in that semifinal, because the beam problems came back, which is the old saying that, like, beam problems don't go away, they just hide for a while, and then, you know, Russia goes to beam in the Olympic team final, and they come back. You see them again, and it kind of felt like they were never really gone. They just resurfaced, but that's easy to say in retrospect. but that really set the tone for the competition. There was definitely an opening to be taken advantage of, and Iowa State did that with a stickathon on vault, which I think is going to be the most noteworthy highlight of that performance, but also what was particularly useful. And we talked about Ohio State's beam in our preview because they're doing a lot of interesting things and I like it a lot. They had a fall early in the lineup, and then they had Courtney McCann going in the anchor position. Courtney McCann, if you remember, her beam has been very interesting. She got a 9.975, her very first beam routine she ever competed in college. She has a huge actual 2-footed layout that's like for
real,
like for realsies, for credit. Like in elite, you would get credit for it. But it is a risky skill, and sometimes she falls. And so they already had a fall. She had to hit that, otherwise they were out of the meet. Rotation 1, they were out. And she hit that. They went for it, didn't shy away from the difficulty in, even though the season was on the line, and she hit it. So that was a lot of really moments like Minnesota of rising to the occasion and competing better than usual in regionals instead of like worse than usual in trying to hold on.
Yep. That watching Ohio State and Rutgers battle it out for that last spot to the regional final was so exciting to watch, because exactly like you're saying, like they were just hitting and making it, doing their absolute best gymnastics. And that's what you want to see. Like, you don't want to see teams fall apart, which always happens at some point.
I mean, it's entertaining.
It's very
I'm not saying I don't want to see teams fall apart.
It sucks.
You don't want them to feel bad, but it is entertaining. As long as like we've done the emotional foundation where everyone still feels okay about themselves and they aren't defined by falling on a gymnastics routine, then I love it because it's very entertaining. But also I want to talk about Rutgers, because this turnaround from 35 seconds ago, head coach implosion scandal, to then they got through that season and snuck into regionals. And now this season, sneaking into regionals again, and then winning the play-in, and then having one of the best meets I've ever seen this team have, to go over 196, one of the best scores in the regional semifinals that didn't advance, has been an incredibly impressive run, and really interesting to watch certain improvements, like Gabrielle Dildy being like, oh, I'm going to add bars this season, and also it's going to be the best bars routine on the team, and now I'm like one of the top all-arounders in the country. You're seeing that, the improvement and the evolution. So that's been really impressive.
Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? I mean, also Rutgers, we can't forget. They wore their Marie Antoinette's executioner soldier leotards. I can't mention these enough. They were so great. Like, you're just never going to forget those leotards. There's just never been anything like them. Although it was super confusing when Cal was wearing West Virginia's Leo. I was like, what? I was like, why are
you guys can't wear the wrong colors for us around here.
And the same design, just like shorter and up a little higher. I was like, wait, West Virginia is not here. What's happening? And then I was like, wait, Tanya Paulson, this is the wrong. Why are they wearing that Leo? Honestly, this is also on your leotard rep. Should have been like, you know, we already used this for West Virginia, but we're just shortening it and scooching it up. But yeah, I was very confused. I was like, yes. But at least like everybody wasn't wearing white. Like
Georgia wore 2004 Olympics, but with black instead of blue.
Yes. So smart. Genius. I saw that too, and I was just like, oh yeah, why don't more teams do this? Just be like, do you remember how much you love the Olympic team? Yes. Subliminal messages.
I am Olympics.
Me too. Yeah, and it's very like rah rah USA. Yeah, it was a genius move by them. Okay.
And then Ohio State was just wearing that Buckeye man, and I thought it was the Hamburglar. So that was also a really solid move. In their semifinal, I think that helped them a lot.
If they had worn that weed leaf, the Buckeye, it's the actual Buckeye, which looks just like a weed leaf. You can tell what a big pot smoker I am that I can't tell the difference between a weed leaf and the Buckeye leaf. But I mean, that also would have been maybe subliminal to get those scores a little higher. But I was confused.
With these judges, maybe they would have been like, let's try use there's deduction.
Okay, most valiant semifinal performance that didn't advance.
This is my very, very elegant way of talking about Iowa. Another great performance. I put Iowa in the Clemson department, where I'm like, yeah, you didn't advance, but that was a victorious performance, a really strong semifinal competition. They opened with a 49.575 on bars when Aurélie Tran got a 10, and I thought they were going to advance. They just happened to be in the UCLA-Minnesota semifinal. And now with Minnesota advancing to nationals, that looks even more like an even more challenging semifinal than it already looked at the time. They scored a 196.75, which would have advanced plenty of places. It was a really strong competition. They just got a bad draw. But I think that was another one that was a very successful nationals, a clear indication of progress and improvement for the team.
But also a super win for Iowa because Aurélie Tran's 10. Oh, I'm so excited. I floated out of my seat. But also they won because they got
they didn't win, but they won in our hearts.
They won. No. They got the ESPN highlight of the night thing where they show the 10 cool things that happened, and the Fortnite celebration on bars, the backflip to I'm just sitting here with my hand behind my head, relaxing flip, got on the highlight reel. So you succeeded.
This is what gymnastics has been missing.
Yeah. Yes.
Because gymnasts have always seen people in other sports do like a flip of celebration. And you're like, well, that was bullshit.
Exactly. That was ugly.
That was
as hell.
ugly ass shit.
Can all do that.
We can do that. I can do that and make it not look terrible. And then everyone's losing their minds. Like, oh, what an amazing somersault. And you're like, okay, well, first of all, it was not a somersault. It was an aerial walkover. And second of all, it was bad. So deal with that. Let me show you something.
Yes. And Iowa, you succeeded. Yeah. This is the point of the cellies, as they're calling them, because you have to shorten everything of the celebration. And it was, you did it. So Iowa, hats off to all of you. You did the right thing, and what a great performance. I can't wait. And Aurélie made it to NCAAs, so we will see her there. What did we learn about the advancing teams to nationals? Ones that are going to Fort Worth.
I think one thing I learned, which is not a lesson, but more of a reflection of the regionals performances, is, Oklahoma always has more in the tank to give. Because that regional final, there were some things where I was like, she has not performed that nearly that well all season. She was getting the scores. Like Elle Miller on a couple, like both vault and floor, like her Rudy on floor and her leg position on her Yurchenko 1.5. I was like, that's the best she's done it all season.
Yeah.
And Faith Torres has had a weird leg separation in her pack all season that she did not used to have. And then the regional final, she was like, no, their legs together. Yep. I don't do that anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, they have another level. They can they had another switch that they could turn. And that is the thing I saw in the regional final that I think will make every other team nervous.
Oklahoma is the Nadia/Japanese men of college gymnastics. Nadia famously said, if you read her book, I never gave everything. That was the secret. I always held something back, so I have more to give when it counted. And as we know from watching, men's gymnastics for so many years, that you watch practice and you're like, they don't do anything. They're just waddling around, taking their shirts off, napping, flying all over the place. And then you watch prelims and you're like, oh, I don't know. They don't look so great. And then they turn it on 1,000% more for finals and win everything. This is what we learned from the Chinese and Japanese men. This is the secret. So yeah, they always hold a little bit back and have more in the tank. What else did we learn? I think that we learned from those teams that you have to have the details locked in. You can't put up this is what I took away. We had a conversation about the team's leaps and jumps on College and Cocktails, and Rima had just went off, and it was so great. Spencer was like, "Finally, it doesn't have to be me." I
love it when a gymnast who does it is like, "No, it's actually it's easy, and you should criticize these leaps."
Yeah, this is unacceptable. You cannot have someone that in your lineup who doesn't have a guaranteed 180 split. If you have that person, you have to change their elements, period. You just can't do that. There were teams that I was like, oh, they're doing really well. And then they went to beam or floor. And I was just like, why are they not doing a wolf jump or a pike jump or a straddle jump or anything other than a split? Because they're not even close to this. And like automatically, you're not going to even get close to the scores you need, which is a 9.8, 9.85, 9.9 minimums on these routines. Like if you can't have that as your minimum, you're never going to make it. So that is what I learned from the teams that are advancing, is that they don't have any of those people in their lineups. Everyone has a construction of their routines that are things they can actually hit. Okay, I want to go to we're going to go out of order. And before we talk more about the regionals and the individuals, the most exciting part who made it, we're going to go to your feedback. So this was driving me nuts, though every time the analysts repeated that a coach said this, I just was like, does no one listen to GymCastic and the deep research that has been published by this institution? Are sticks contagious?
This is a letter we got a while ago during the season from Kelly and Lucy, and I was saving it for this particular moment. They said, longtime GymCastic listeners, first-time emailers, Kelly and Lucy here. We are gym nerds and gymnasts. Kelly is a compulsory coach and podcast producer. Lucy is a psychologist and data deep diver. In our spare time, LOL, we both devour every college meet we can get our eyeballs on. As you know, college gym commentators love to repeat themselves. She went lights out, just a small hop forward. The judges are really looking for that handstand position. We've heard it all before, again and again. But one thing they repeat that made us pause is the notion that sticks are contagious. It's only 5 weeks into this season, so it's been a while since this was written in, but it's very important. And we have already heard it more than a dozen times, and even heard it twice in a meet during 3 separate meets. And if you watched regionals this weekend, you heard it 158,000 times. No one knows or cares what lights out means, but stick contagion seemed measurable, quantifiable, and maybe provable. So we watched a ton of college meets from across the 2024-2025 season. We counted sticks on bars, vault, and beam, including floor would have been too complicated since there's the whole lunge thing. We noted the team's NQS and gymnast NQS on those respective events, and even considered the skill leading to the stick or not stick. We fed all of our data into open source statistical computing software and learned some interesting facts. First and most importantly, but maybe not surprisingly, sticks are not contagious. In fact, any number of prior sticks don't meaningfully predict the likelihood of another stick. When 2 or 3 people stick in a row, we can't say with confidence that it's because the previous person stuck. It could just be random chance. By itself, this fact could seem like a letdown. It's fun for fans to believe that sticks are contagious. It might even be psychologically important for gymnasts to believe that. So why ruin the magic? Because this data also showed us some other important things we might think coaches might want to know when they're making lineups. The data we collected might also help make a case for changes in the code of points. We'll save those arguments for our full report, though. Spoilers.
You two are doing the Lord's work, as Spencer has done in the past, where he also did a statistical analysis and looked at the fact that sticks are not contagious. So now we have 2. We need to publish our findings. Really.
I have not done that. I think you're must be confusing me with one of your other nerds.
I feel like we did this as an episode. You looked at, it was some, you looked at a couple
scores
different
rise.
Oh, maybe it was scores rise?
Which used to be not true and now is true. No, it's not true in Elite, and it is true in NCAA, I think is what we found.
Oh, yeah, which
that it's like that. the what session you're in at Worlds was kind of like, not really in an open-ended code, but NCAA is like,
yeah. Elite is so the judging has obviously problems, but it is so much better than what's done in NCAA, like 1,000 times better.
So unclear that I think our criticisms it's impossible to have criticisms because you're like, everyone, if there are 2 points in deductions, you might be taking things that make sense. You might also not be, and we have no idea.
Right. Which is the other thing we need to talk about, which let's talk about that now. So the things that we liked also, but anyway, Kelly and Lucy, you are doing prod's work here, and thank you so much. And please do send in all of your research so that we can make sure that it sees the light of day here. Okay, things that we liked about the broadcast. I'll start.
Okay, yeah, you should start.
Sam Pesek spies on people in the bathroom. My favorite quote.
Wait, when was this?
John Roethlisberger. This is what you missed.
This is what I missed.
This is what you missed, is that Sam was talking about while she was in the bathroom, the athletes were talking about how hard the floor was. And you know, and then
good
John,
bathroom spying.
Yeah, and John, and she's like, but this is what we do. Like, when you're an athlete, you compare. Like, is the hard floor seem so hard to you? Yes, it does. And this is my feeling that there was a hole or a dead spot in the LSU floor in the corner that was closest to Reagan Corville. That's how I'm identifying that corner. But yeah, so then, you know, John Roethlisberger...
I was trying to do something with corner and Corville, and then it didn't work, so never mind.
No, that's okay.
Cornerville? Nope, it's horrible.
John Roethlisberger correctly filtered this down to the most important message from that, which was Sam Pesek spies on people in the bathroom. He also, on a dare from an athlete, worked supercalifragilistic expialidocious into the broadcast. Hats off to you, sir. I enjoy these little moments. I giggle at them. Also,
and I like that Sam said you took the words right out of my mouth. Like she was going to say that too. That was a good one.
Calling individual qualifiers individualists is back.
Ew. No, exhibitionists was the bad
exhibitionists
one.
Is the worst.
But this is almost as bad.
Individualists.
Why? Just we have a name for them. They're individual qualifiers. That's fine.
Hilarious. I loved it. Hilarious. Just so ridiculous. And then the other thing that I loved, they had a judge on who clearly they were not allowed to call a judge, so they called her the rules analyst, because these are the rules. So just call them what they're called in every sport. Referees are judges. That's what they are. We should just call them judges. So what this judge did was make it clear that the judging rules are clear as mud, and there is an incredible amount of leeway, and up to deductions are one of the problems that makes it so unclear, because every time she answered a question, she answered with 17 possibilities. Instead of what I saw from my angle is that is a mandatory 1/10 for landing short and stepping back, or mandatory under rotation, stepping forward, and then I would also take for blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I enjoyed this very much because it showed how the problem with the rules are. So the judges are working with what they have, and the problem is that the code is not clear enough. The NCAA code and the dev code.
Agreed.
What did you, is there anything that you particularly liked in the first sessions before she got a talking to, clearly after the later sessions?
I don't know if she got a talking to, but there was definitely like the second day when she came on, the first thing was like, the judges are working so hard and they're doing such a great job and they try so hard because there's, yeah, you can't say it. But the first thing they asked her, which I understand, was like, why are the judges having a conference right now? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, it could be this or it could be this. And it's like, yeah, because you don't know.
Yeah.
They probably shouldn't have been.
Right.
But they were out of range or the start value was off. It could be a lot of things. But yeah, it's just, as you said, the lack of clarity is very clear because I don't think it made anything clearer for the people who don't necessarily know the code. I think it just ended up making it more confusing, but also I really like having someone in this position. And there are really useful things. Like it comes with just experience of being on television. That's hard. And you're not going to be good at it right away. No one's good at it right away. But there were moments where it was like, yes, that is exactly why this person should be here and do. Like when Levi completely missed her series and she was able to just say concisely, like, she has no acro series in her routine, she won't get credit for that requirement, and which is true. Yes, she won't. That's right. That's the really useful reason to have that person, when you can just concisely say something objectively obvious. The problem is there's very little that's objectively obvious because you should take a 10th, but did they all? No.
Yep. I love that they have a rules analyst on, and I hope that this stays. If she continues in this position, she needs a lot of training, And
it's just experience. Yeah, it's just that's true for true for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. You just need training. Rima had a lot of really good critiques on College and Cocktails, because it is just like being concise and clear and to the point. And yeah, I hope that they keep this up. Improvements that
oh man, where do we start? Don't shoot beam from the perspective of someone mid-seizure with like on the ground with a shaking camera. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't cut in the middle of someone's routine. Those are just suggestions.
So this was it Kentucky or I can't remember which regional this was.
It was Kentucky.
Whatever. Yeah. This poor guy was sitting on a makeshift, like one of those like carried around benches that you take when you're like camping, that's made out of plastic, and holding the camera like on his leg the entire meet. I was like, this is not, you should have a tripod for the camera. It's not a walking around camera. He's shooting beam the whole entire time. So give him a tripod. I felt for him, but also I was like, stand the fuck up. You don't shoot beam from down upwards into the lights. Under the beam is not the right way to shoot it. And again, that's a producing problem too, which there were some producing problems, which I don't know if you had the moment where the show cut out to absolute black and then they repeated an interview with a coach, but there was no sound. We'd already heard the interview. Yeah, I was like, ooh, that's bad. Yeah, there were some issues.
I think my actual recommendation is put it on TV. Because this was really good. This was like the best. It's so exciting. This Oregon State Regional with UCLA and Alabama, Utah, Minnesota. That was the best meet of the season. And it's not even on any television. You need to find a way in this contract to put regionals on TV. And that would solve all of our other complaints, because it would be like a television broadcast. It felt a little webby.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there's such great improvements. Like, remember when we couldn't even watch most of the regionals, and then they were all at the same time, and then they were literally just webcams? So we've come so far.
Remember when we couldn't watch SECs live, and we had to wait 2 weeks? We couldn't watch Nationals live? These are the times we lived through, you guys.
Yeah.
Our complaints.
Terrible times.
We understand. It used to be worse.
So you'd have to rely on the fan in the stands, like live tweeting or live GGMBing on what was happening, because you had no way to find out what was going on. So we've come so far, but maybe value the product. Don't give away the TV contracts for free, and actually, make it be on television. Also, I really need the all-around and individual scores shown when there's a leader change. So this is also a competition. This is a competition for all these schools at every level. So it's not just the teams. We need to see this person is currently...
tell that to college gymnastics in general.
I mean, they're really trying to phase out the individual.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, they're so trying to phase it out. I mean, we don't even have an individual finals day. It's all the first day now. Thursday is when you get your all-around champion, and your event champions are all on Thursday. So I would, and you know what? They're not even having their little dinner party awards thing for at NCAAs anymore. They used to have it like Wednesday night after podium training. Maybe last year when all the athletes and coaches complained because they just got like a lettuce leaf for dinner and everyone had to scramble to actually
go get other food after the banquet. Yeah.
Yeah, because they got fed so little. That is maybe why they were like, oh, you're going to complain about these lettuce leaves? Well, no party for you. So that's gone.
And they were like, fine, because we had to get food ourselves anyway. So same.
Yeah. So, but at least that poor, I was going to say horse dog, but it's a giant steer with the longhorn steer. Remember they have an actual cow there that they would sit on and take pictures with.
A living cow?
A living cow. It's alive. And it just stands there in the sun. I mean, I know cows do that. They stand in the sun and they eat grass.
That's their main thing.
Generally their
aspirational brand.
But this was concrete. There should have at least been a nice grass pad for this poor gentleman cow to stand on.
I don't like
so at least hopefully he'll have a break. But yeah, anyway, the other thing that they should have is just show where they stand when there's a leadership change. If we have, I want to know where the standings are. A leadership change.
There's a coup or an election for who the best bars worker is.
That's what we should call it, a coup, whenever there's a change.
There's been a coup on bars.
And now Aurélie Tran from Canada has staged her own coup and is taking over American bars. Oh, what a dream. Okay, regional 10s.
We had a few. 9? I think we had 9.
Yeah. There were a total of 4 10s at the LSU Regional. 4 10s.
For Kaylin
because
Oh no, Kalia Lincoln also got one. Yeah.
Yeah. 3.
Kaylin Cho only got 3 10s, slacking.
Only 3. 2 for vault both days. The second one was much better, but
I thought the first one was better.
I thought the second one was much higher and straighter and farther.
I thought the second one she had more shoulder angle. This is what happens, you guys.
Yeah. And again, we're not watching it from the judge's angle, so who knows? They might be looking right up in the lights. They might not be either. Yeah. That's true. And then she got one on floor, and then Kalia Lincoln got one on floor too, which she didn't even need to do that routine. They had already made it. She could have just laid down and been like, I'm ready for my massage. The team already qualified. I don't have to do this. But she got a 10, which is great. It's obviously there are problems with many of these 10s. There's a scoop back on a landing, but is she one of the best floor workers in the entire world? Yes. Aurelia Tran, we talked about her bars 10. Nikki Smith on vault got a 10. Sky Blakely, and which is again one of the best bar workers in the world. But my problem with this is if Audrey Davis never got a 10 on bars, then Sky Blakely can never get a 10 on bars because they both had the exact same deduction, which is the cowboy.
Audrey Davis got a 10?
Oh, she did get a 10 once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once in all those years. So, yeah. And then Faith Torres on beam.
Mm-hmm.
Faith Torres, she's just amazing. And then Jordan Childs on floor. Okay. Highlights? Is there any highlights you want to talk about just gymnastically? Things that were very impressive that you like, that you're just like, I just want to call out this moment of...
I mean, there definitely were, but I've forgotten all of them and did not write them down. So that's that.
The Van Frayen and Trostel Nodi series on beam. Both of them doing that. It just...
Rosen? Too?
In a series, not a standalone.
I thought... Okay, yes. Van Frayen's definitely doing it in a series.
Yeah, and Trostel's doing it in a series.
Oh.
The series doing it out of something and just diving half turn backwards, hoping you're straight. It's just so hard. That's why we see it so infrequently. And it's so great to see two gymnasts doing that consistently week after week after week, including hitting those at nationals. Also, I want to talk about this moment with at regionals. Bennett from Kentucky, Chesney.
When she really smacked her leg on beam when she fell.
Yeah, so she did that. She did her series, missed her. She was just totally off. So her whole leg came down on the beam. But it wasn't even that she hit it so hard. It was that the way that her leg was when she was falling, it looked like her knee joint stayed in one place and the rest of her on top of the beam and the rest of her went sideways. Ooh. So it looked like it totally pulled her probably MCL. And she was holding her knee after, and it just looked, after I watched it again, I was like, oh my God, her knee. But, she stayed down for a while and she got up and finished her beam routine. And then she went and hit a floor routine, super wrapped up knee. And I know a lot of people are, it's like, it's your knee. You need to protect yourself. Only you and the medical staff should make this decision. But it is awesome to see that her, she got up and finished. If it was a concussion or she hit her head, I would not be saying that. But I also wanted to point out, and I want to talk about this after the Winter Olympics, like how many athletes have competed without an ACL, so a full ACL tear or some kind of ligament tear that needs a repair, but they compete anyway, like Morgan Hurd. She tore her ACL on tour, didn't know it, and then did that whole ramp up to the Tokyo Olympics without Tokyo Olympics without knowing she had a tear until she got to Florida, and they were like, you don't have an ACL. Hillary Knight, the hockey gold medalist, she had an MCL tear and won a gold medal just here at the Milano Olympics. Right here down the street. Italy.
Just down the street. Just in Italy.
She talked about that afterwards. And then Rel Harwood is another, she's a freestyle skier. So the ones that do all the flips, because, if they're just going straight, what does it matter? There's no forces. But she qualified and competed at the Milan Olympics without an ACL. So it is something that is done, and a lot of athletes don't know it until, it happens that these things are missed. But, Hillary Knight knew, and Rel Harwood also knew, and she qualified and competed without an ACL. So not recommended, but it is something that can be done and something that happens.
Going back to the Chesney Bennett routine, I also thought it was a good example. As we've been, very critical of most of the rules in NCAA, there are some things that NCAA rules are superior to elite. And one of them is having an injury evaluation period where the coaches can come out and see, are you okay? We don't have to rush. The fall timing is not going. We're going to take our 2 minutes to do an injury evaluation. Okay, we think you're okay enough to resume your routine. It was fine. It did not take too long. It didn't stall the competition unnecessarily. It was a totally fine, normal thing to do. And I appreciate that they have that rule. It's fairly new, and it's something that elite should also have.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, because we also saw we had a repeat of what happened at the I think this is what happened anyway. This is not totally confirmed, but Lily Kosman, our American Romanian who competes for MSU, it looked like she had exactly what happened in the Paris high bar final happened to her, which is she had a cramp, it looked like, in one foot, and her leg just flexed, and this might have been what happened. I'm guessing from...
I thought she hit her foot on the cable.
On the cable?
Yeah. And then hurt it. That was what I thought. Because she was that far over for her giant.
We're gonna have to. I'll ask her exactly what happened about this.
Yeah, I thought she would smacked her foot on the cable.
It was very weird because then she just basically killed her swing and just did a layout and then was in a boot. Which the boot made me think was an injury, but then going back anyway. In the Paris high bar final, there was an Italian athlete who got a cramp in both of his calves and had to stop. And the people got mad at me for tweeting this at the time, but I was like, the judges are not buying that he is injured because they're stopping the timer. Like, he has to go back up. They're not going to let him stay down anymore. They're signaling him that he has to get back out in the high bar. And I think this is what you're pointing out here, is that it would be great if the FIG adopted this rule that NCAA has, which is not, he could have stayed down until his cramps were totally gone and then finished his high bar routine.
And it's still a fall. I mean, it's not like you're erasing the deduction. Yes. It's just you get to, if you're able to physically, after a moment, resume your routine, you should be able to do so.
Yep. And I was thinking of that especially because people are saying how hot it was at the Oregon the Corvallis. Yeah, which is interesting because I always think, well, none of these places, it wasn't even that hot in Corvallis, but, according to what the temperature said, but none of these places were built for climate change. This has been a problem at so many sports this spring, especially because these arenas don't have air conditioning. Like, why would an arena in Corvallis, Oregon have air conditioning? It rains 99% of the time and is the perfect weather. Like, it's gray and beautiful and green. This is why Oregon is so gorgeous. So yeah. Anywho, climate change and cramps. That's what we're talking about. So, opportunities for comedy.
Oh yeah, let me know. What do we have?
I thought this was hilarious. So there were two coaches who were coaching in mini dresses, so like a mid-thigh dress.
Sure.
And to their credit, wearing heels and spotting and moving mats and all that stuff in heels, I think that is incredibly stupid, and you are making yourself an absolute you could become the injury and damage the mats. but it's also really difficult. Like, you're a liability basically to the team if you're doing that. But it's like dancing backwards in heels. Who's that person that everything was harder for? The woman dancer, not the dude?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, that's a saying. Anyway, we're going to get 100 letters about that. Anywho, but the one thing I wouldn't do if I was coaching in a mini dress, I wouldn't put my leg up on the spotting block so that your full crotch is visible on television.
Sure.
Yeah,
maybe she was into it.
Maybe, if you, spread them if you got them, I guess. But, maybe wear shorts underneath those or something like that. I just was like, this maybe is not a great thing. Okay, let's go into a little more depth about each regional here and then talk specifically about my favorite topic, the individuals who made it. So let's go to Group of Death, Oregon.
Yeah, so it turned out to be as predicted in that regard. This was Alabama and Utah made it out of the first semifinal, UCLA and Minnesota out of the second. UCLA and Minnesota ended up qualifying. So our individual qualifiers were Avery Neff for the all-around, Shyla Bhatia of Denver for vault, Aurélie Tran for bars, Anna Padarariu's going to nationals for beam,
Yay!
Ella Zerbis, thankfully, will be at nationals for floor.
Thank God.
So she can do some homework beforehand. No individual qualifiers for Alabama. 0.
None. No.
That I kind of didn't realize until I was looking through it afterward. I was like, wait, what? What?
No LaCourcier.
That sucks.
No Akbar. No Gabby. I actually belong in ball sports, but I do gymnastics. Gladio.
I know.
Mind-boggling.
You were saying, like, how could we have Gabby Gladio at nationals without Jamison Sears? It turns out we got both, neither of them.
It's just like...
That's very depressing.
Shocking. And none for Oregon State, which is...
Yeah,
also really a bummer. I thought for sure that Esposito... I want to pronounce her name like she's Italian now. Yeah, she could. I don't know what it is, but yeah, Esposito was going to make it. And she, did well, but crazy. I think... I loved watching the individuals here. There were so many great individuals. Like we had San Jose State and UW with and who did we have from? We had Moneymaker. Wasn't she in this one? Moneymaker of the great gymnastics and stunt family of Moneymakers, continuing in the tradition. And Davis, which long ago lost their scholarships and are still going strong. So I enjoyed watching them very, very much. Arizona State Regional.
Yes. Also, the semifinals went by the rankings. Georgia and Michigan State advanced, Florida and Cal advanced, and then Florida and Georgia, as was prophesied by the rankings, advanced to nationals. Michigan State dominated the individual qualifiers, so Nikki Smith is going for the all-around. Thankfully, Sage Kellerman is going for both vault and bars. Even though that means Tanya Paulson is not going for bars.
Which
I would have
sucks.
taken okay, we'll have Sage Kellerman for vault and trade for Tanya Paulson for bars if I were designing it myself. Abigail Martin of Arizona for beam. That's one of those exciting surprises that you wouldn't have picked going in because beam can always do that. Really great beam routine. And then Gabby Ortiz, also for Michigan State, is going for floor.
This shows how good Michigan State is too, that they have this many qualifiers. Which they are, like they're amazing. They just don't have the depth this year. And they don't have those.
It's just like
landings.
You wish you were like, oh, if Gabby Stephen and Skylar Schulte were still here, they could have made it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they really had the most amazing recruiting class. So no individual qualifiers for Cal, which we talked about earlier, which is like kind of shocking because they are an incredible team. And I thought Tanya Paulson for sure. We have a feature on Tanya Paulson this week too. Daniel interviewed her, so if you want to read that up on at GymCastic.com. But yeah, I am excited that she is planning for Worlds. We already talked about being in Rotterdam. Like she's not slowing down now, and she shouldn't. There was also a report that College Gym News reported that she had her vault set wrong, and that's why she was too high on her vault in semifinals. I have not seen that, but that was reported on the broadcast. And if so, that would be her coach's fault for not setting it right, because it was not a pre-meet issue. It was a change when they went to vault. And it was
I think it's an international conspiracy against Svetlana Horkina. Because that's what's happening when vaults are set wrong.
It's not a surprise to me, though, if this is what happened, that Tanya Paulson would speak out about this, because when you're, a grown-up and you're from Sweden, it is just a fact. It is not something that you have to hide and make a secret that your coach messed up. You know what I mean? If that's what happened. Maybe the coaches don't actually set it. Maybe it's one of the volunteer assistant, Mat boys.
The Mat boys.
Mat boys, yeah. Maybe it was a Mat boy that said it wrong and not a coach. So we don't know. But that was reported by College Gym News according to the broadcast. Then we had Lily Cosman had that weird cramp injury hitting her foot maybe on the bar, but she did come back and competed in the final.
She did. Yeah. She didn't do beam, but she did bars again in the regional final.
Yep. And then we had the LSU regional.
Yes. Semifinals also went by the rankings. So Stanford and Michigan advanced, and then LSU and Clemson advanced, and then it was LSU and Stanford advancing to nationals. All-around qualifiers, Maggie Slife, Air Force, qualified to nationals as an individual for the all-around. Gwen Fink at North Carolina made it for vault. Sophia Diaz for bars and Carly Bauman for beam at Michigan. And then Bree Clark on floor for Clemson. Their first individual nationals qualifier. Jessica and I have already put in our request for the Biles 1.
Now's the time. You have nothing to lose.
Individual qualifier at nationals. If you can do it.
It's your last meet.
This is the moment. Let's go.
Yeah. You literally have one day. Like, this is it. You compete Thursday and that's it. Do the Biles. And you do it in Texas. Simone's only 2 hours away or an hour away, or maybe she's in Indianapolis, though. Because now the husband got traded. Oof. Yes.
The things they do to Simone, they need to take her into account when
honestly
they make these football decisions. Like, how will Simone feel about this?
Why would you trade him when Simone's his wife? That's so I don't care if he's doing well. Simone will be at the games. That's the most important consideration. Duh. And Chicago's more exciting place for her to live than Indianapolis. Can you imagine? She has to go to Indiana. All those years she had to go to stupid Indianapolis. So they made them all meet there and then take their flights to wherever. Oh, I'm so sorry for this, Simone. But anyway, the point of this is I wanted to talk about the Chio Gym Slam update because, she only needs bars. A 10 on bars. She
needs bars. Jordan Childs needs beam. Selena Harris needs floor.
And Chio, the thing is, we're watching her routine in slow motion, and the analysts were talking about how, what are they going to take on that? And I'm just her feet aren't pointed. Her legs aren't together. That's what they're going to take. Her feet, you have to point your feet. This is part of the whole time. I don't know if the judges know this, but in the rules, your feet must be pointed and not sickled, or what we call flexed with your toes curled, not pointed. So I was just oh, well, it's not. That's why that they're actually doing the right thing and taking this deduction. I think she could totally fix this because she's Kaylin Chio and she can do it. So I expect her to be like an Oklahoma and just be oh, guess what? I showed up to nationals and now my feet are pointed perfectly the entire time on my bar dismount and I can get a gym slam as I deserve. Thank you very much.
Or don't change anything and anchor the lineup at a home meet.
Yeah.
She's going to get a 10 on bars next season.
You can do that.
I feel I don't think she needs to change anything.
Oh, we didn't talk.
I think she's going fourth is why she doesn't have a 10 on bars.
We did not talk about the injury to Connor McLean.
Oh, yeah.
She missed her release. And then looks like she might have hurt from the interview with Jay Clark, the head coach, that she might have re-injured her elbow or shoulder, some kind of nerve thing going on. So we'll have to see what happens. But she was holding her forearm and her fingers looked like they were not feeling good. So we'll see what happens with her and if that affects them long term. Were you surprised there's no individual for Auburn?
No. I mean, I was depressed because I wanted Paige Zancan to qualify for her vault. But they were they have a lot of potential individual qualifiers, but they didn't have a great competition, and they're very injured, and a lot of their individual qualifiers are too injured to compete, like Caitlin Zhang. So yeah, not that surprised.
Yeah. Kentucky Regional.
Okay. Semifinal 1 went by the rankings. Missouri and Arkansas advanced. Semifinal 2, we had our upset. Ohio State advancing with Oklahoma instead of Kentucky. Individual qualifiers all around. Tori Vetter, Ohio State. Vault Cameron Smith, Ohio State. She was one of the stuck Yurchenko 1.5s in their run of stuck vaults. Hannah Horton on bars for Missouri. So Missouri will have a qualifier, which is very important. And Kentucky also will. Delaney Rodriguez qualified for beam, and Kreslin Bros qualified for floor.
Kreslin Bros finally on the stage. You know what I've been thinking about Kreslin Bros and Gabby Gladio? Mostly Gabby Gladio. At Alabama, the jock. We're talking about the gymnast who's amazing, and then she also bench pressed Jamison Sears. And she
favorite thing that happened of the season. That's your number one, right? Of like
it is
moments of the college gymnastics season.
The best thing that's happened. But I feel like I went to a Savannah Banana game, and I want to talk about this forever. Banana ball is the future. It's the sport of the future. It was so fun and amazing, and I loved it. I have pages of notes on what gymnastics needs to do after going to this. But honestly, like, if you can do any acrobatics and dance, and then you can like throw and catch a ball, you can do banana ball. You don't have to be a professional. Like, there are obviously professional like baseball players and whatever in it. It's actually baseball, but you don't even notice the baseball because it's so fun and there's so much flipping and dancing. And so I was like, Gabby Gladio, this might fulfill her. You know, I think she likes football, but we don't want her to get CTE. Protect her brain. Banana ball. I think this could be the future for her. Anyway, just letting you know. There's future. And Kreslin Bros, I was thinking about her. I was like, oh, Cirque du Soleil. They're recruiting again. This is an opportunity. She might be able to do it. I'm just always hoping for more for these gymnasts. Okay, fantasy game. We had a regionals fantasy game. We're going to have an NCAA fantasy game. So the regional winner is
Van Leeuweners. We just need to confirm the scores.
Yeah. How did you do?
I haven't checked.
I
got scared.
Okay,
I'll take 11.
That's good.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be worse, so I didn't look.
It is hard, and regionals is really hard too because
sometimes people who you thought were going to do the all around for Florida didn't do the all around.
Right,
Jenny.
There were a lot of changes in this. I know we didn't talk about Florida because we're just like, yeah, obviously they easily made it.
We didn't do a lot of Florida. No one got injured and they advanced, and it wasn't that nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
For Florida, yeah. I think that was just even.
Yeah. For me, it's Florida and Oklahoma's championship. Stanford, if they did the best meet of their entire lives, could potentially do it. And LSU, I think they'll make it to the second day, as long as they don't have what happened last year. But
so who do you think makes it to the second day then?
I think Florida. I have to go back and look at my teams. I think it's going to be Florida, Oklahoma for sure make it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, UCLA and Georgia got the same score basically by a quarter.
They're not in the same semifinal though.
That's true. Yeah. It's a huge deal that Georgia freaking made it. They haven't made it since like 7 years. Cecile difference.
They're in the same semifinal as Florida and LSU, and I'm like, if I'm LSU, well, both of them really, I'm worried about like the Georgia train in that semifinal.
What is the Georgia train?
That means they have momentum like a runaway freight train, and they might run through into the final.
I was thinking this was some kind of like because Rima on College and Cocktails this week talked about what it was like to compete at Georgia, and both of our mouths were hanging open because of the things she
How
said. How
dare you? I would never be so shocked by anything.
That Georgia fans
Georgia fans would yell at them. Yeah.
I thought this only happened in men's gymnastics meets and wrestling. But so I thought it had something to do with that. Like it was some horrible thing the fans did to intimidate you.
No.
Okay. The train of momentum of how they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I do hear that Suzanne Yochlin is going to be there like she was at Regional. When I saw Suzanne Yochlin, the legendary coach has won 10 national championships, the only ones in the NCAA, even though Utah has won 10 overall, was at Regionals. I was like, oh shit, she thinks they're going to make it. Like, she's there. That's the sign. When the Suzanne appears, then you know the team's...
It's like the bat signal?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh my God. So... yeah, I mean, I think they are gonna do. God, wouldn't it be crazy? I mean, UCLA had problems, so they have to be lights out to make it. But I feel like Minnesota probably can't do much better than they did.
Yeah.
Arkansas,
so it's the Oklahoma, UCLA, Arkansas, Minnesota is one of the semifinals. I think so. Oklahoma and UCLA would be the favorites coming out of that one.
Yep.
And then
LSU,
Florida, Georgia, and Stanford is the other semifinal. That's in the morning because ESPN gets to pick now. And they were like, who should go in the evening? Oh, Jordan Chiles. Jordan Chiles is the primetime gymnast.
Yep.
I don't know that was the reasoning for the decision. I'm saying whatever semifinal Jordan Chiles was in was going to be the one that got second.
The only wild card in making it to the second day for me is really Stanford. Because they can. I mean, Georgia has also gotten a 198 this season, haven't they? I think once. They've both gotten a 198 once. But Stanford, I feel like their potential is so much higher when they all really hit than how they did at regionals. But they don't often do that. That's the thing.
Yeah. So that's what we're saying is like, it's probably going to go by the rankings, but Jessica's upset pick is Stanford and my upset pick is Georgia.
Yeah. And I think we both agree. That's...
we both agree that those are our respective views. Yes.
Yes. You are allowed.
I'm allowed. Yes.
I mean, those are the two teams that I would choose to be the upsets too. But I still think Oklahoma is gonna win. But Oklahoma, I mean, it's Oklahoma's to lose. Like when they lose, it's only because they lose it themselves. They decide that they sit down on things, they fall, and that's the only way that they lose.
And I guess I went hard. I committed hard to Florida. So Jessica's taking Oklahoma. I'm taking Florida.
Yeah. Did we go over the which regional have we? That's it. We covered all the regionals. Yeah. Okay.
We went through the individual qualifiers, yeah. I'm sure there's plenty more, but, one can only speak about so much.
A little more details. Now it's time for Gymternet news. A little more detail on what's going on in Romania. So the Federation president, Sucio, has announced an independent commission to investigate the abuse allegations, but more than 3 months later, no disciplinary meeting has taken place. That's what I meant earlier by in the headlines by he's poof. What's happening? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't there an investigation? The case centers on serious abuse allegations against Kamila Wojnia, and 4 gymnasts accused her of physical, psychological, and verbal abuse, supported by video evidence showing her treatment of her daughter, Sabrina Wojnia, and we've covered this at length over the last several months. One athlete said she came close to suicide. Despite the severity of the claims, no formal action has been taken by the Romanian Federation, raising concerns about accountability and oversight. And they did just have their big federation meeting, and none of the abuse stuff was brought up. It was not part of it. They talked about budget and nothing else. Canada has a new program director. So Gymnastics Canada just appointed Heather Ross McManus to be the program director of women's artistic gymnastics, effective April. They also have a new CEO of Gymnastics Canada, and she was formerly with ran 2 other Canadian sports. And Cornell Gymnastics got a big gift. They got $1 million gift. The money came from Ashley Stewart and Michael Bowling, a gymnast and a football player who met at Cornell and graduated in 2008. That's awesome. Yay, go Cornell. And Cairo World Cup happened this past weekend. Leia Font from Spain won vault, and Kalia Moore won beam and bars. She also got a 15-2, I think. Was it a 15-3, 15-2 on bars? Insane!
Is she good at it?
It's just like, and Kate Chin won floor. So if there's any important cat videos to report from that World Cup, we will let you know. It is our favorite thing that happens at that World Cup. Cats run it. Remember to get your tickets for the live show. It is happening in 2 short weeks on the Friday off at NCAA's. And there will be a very special guest. It's always a good time. It's so fun. And if you can't be there in person, it's okay, because you can buy a streaming ticket and you can still ask questions of our guests, interact with your fellow ticket holders online. And you can get your tickets at gymcastic.com. And we'll see you this week on Behind the Scenes, noon Pacific on Friday, which is the show that we do all year long when there aren't meets, and we just, answer your questions and hang out and have a good time. So until Friday at noon Pacific, remember to take off on gay, split on rights, get your live show tickets, and thanks for listening.